Welcome to the 170th broadcast of the T-Row Show. It's your host, Keith. I have got a lot to cover, folks, so I'm just going to not really introduce. I'm just going to I got to get moving here because there is a lot to cover on this particular broadcast. So let's get started first. Wanted you to see this. It's only 2 minutes long. I might not play the whole thing, but what's going on is two guys in hazmat in England are going through a building saying one man died of the coronavirus. So listen to what she's yelling. I'll wait till I get. I know you can see it. There we go. Okay.
Happened because the homeless man that we are told that just died, we've just seen the police take him away to the hospital. I'm filming this now. The police you're in your communal area, my building, and you're lying to us, spreading fear, telling us that this man died, and he's just been down there and saw that he is not dead. He has just been taken to the hospital by the police. He spoke to both the police and the homeless man. That man was a bit drunk. He asked him if he was okay, and he was fine. This was 5 to 10 minutes ago, and now you're coming up here spreading lies and fear and telling me this man is dead, and he is not dead. This man is not dead. Take them letters, take them somewhere else, because that man is not dead. I've been feeding that man.
Wait.
He's lying.
You stop putting those on because he's not dead.
Until you find out if this man's really dead and prove that, then you need to stop putting these letters on there.
Can I ask you to stop filming?
Can I ask your name?
I'm from One Housing.
You're from One Housing. Can I ask your name? When they put a letter under your door saying the man's dead, he's not dead, he's fine. The man is absolutely fine. The man's fine. He's putting letters under our door saying the man's dead. The man's not dead. He just saw him 5 minutes ago being taken by the police. Now these are coming here in their little suits telling us this man's dead, and this man is not dead. We have just seen the police take him to the hospital 5 minutes ago. You are liars. You are spreading fear for no reason. No one died in this building today. Nobody died.
Can you let us respond?
Yeah, I have let you respond, and you've stood there and lied. You have?
Can you stop filming?
Okay, no. You're in my building outside my door causing fear amongst my community.
Now that the lie's been uncovered, notice he just goes ahead and takes off his mask. See? It's okay to take off his mask now and be around these people and be within the 6 feet right here. Doesn't seem to worry about it then, does he? About catching any kind of COVID-19.
Okay, go on. So show me who died.
Okay.
It's legal. I'm illegally allowed
Let me
to.
speak, please. Can I have that?
Go for it.
See, he's not within. He doesn't care if there's anybody is sick. He knows nobody's sick.
Go on. I did.
No, you didn't. Can you stop filming as well?
No, go on.
Right, in that case,
I can film. Go on. I'd like the answer.
Okay.
So we'll just
We responded based on what a report we had earlier. We had two.
What time did you get this report?
How come all of a sudden he can just take that mask off? It's a bunch of crap, folks. It's just a show. That's all it is. Not the T-Row show. I'm talking about this whole COVID thing. All right, just want to get moving. I'm going to show you another part of a video that's going to help out a little bit in the program. And what this is about here is who actually owns. Now, what happened is back in 1996, I wrote a cancellatura of foreign instruments. Cancellatura is another way of saying cancellation of foreign instruments. Now, what that means is that the Federal Reserve has an account in your name with your birth certificate. Your birth certificate is transferred. So now they are just getting to it 25 years later. They are just bringing it out 25 years later because I wrote a cancellatura of foreign instruments in 1996, April 8th. And I've got absolute proof of that. So what it talks about is you didn't have the authority to take my birth certificate, send it to the vital statistics, convert it into a security, send it over to the Secretary of State of the state in which I was born, transfer it to the Secretary of State of the United States, transfer it to the Treasury, and then the Treasury under Title 31, Section 3128 and 3113, one is accepting gifts, and give it to the Federal Reserve and put your birth certificate into an account in the Federal Reserve. Okay, which basically what you did was you sold me for your freaking debt. And that's what happened. Because back in 1933, they didn't have any gold. And what I did was I ended up going into a law library, and I ended up just going down, hit one of the aisles. It was one of those kind of days, folks, where I just turned over, looked at a book, picked it up and opened it up, and I just happened to be talking or reading about the Mississippi legislature stating about the national debt at that time in 1929, that it would take all of the gold it would take 40 years to mine all of the gold in the world to pay off the debt at that time, which is in 1929. And I said, what did they have left? So right after that, I started listening to Tom Schaff and what they do to the promissory notes. And I realized that, oh man, I wonder if they did that with the birth certificate. And I found out they did under Title 31, accepting gifts in support. I'm sorry, accepting gifts on behalf of paying the their national debt, and a proof of death as support payment. That's Title 31, Section 3128 and 3113. Now, everybody's been trying to go to a treasury, and a treasury doesn't have any account for you. There's no magic account with a bunch of money in it, because your birth certificate was transferred over to the Federal Reserve, so that the U.S. could sell your ass to the Federal Reserve, and you're the collateral. Now I don't agree with what Q's doing. I don't agree with a lot of what they're saying in this whole Q this and Q that. But for the first time, I'm seeing a little truth coming out of them, which I didn't expect. Okay, I didn't expect them to actually talk about that. So here it is right here.
All right, so IET 17, and if Trump is now chair of the Fed, what just happened? Well, he looked this up. Who owns the U.S. citizens on Google? Who actually owns the United States of America? Well, as of March 9th, 1933, when the United States declared bankruptcy, they then sold the citizens to pay off the debt owed. Therefore, the United States citizens are owned by the Federal Reserve Bank, which is a non-governmental bank that provides the U.S. with all of its currency. Next up is the land.
Therefore, the United States citizens are owned by the Federal Reserve Bank. That's exactly what I was writing in that Cancellatura of Foreign Instruments. And it worked at the time, and it still works today. We have it listed in as the Cancellatura of Foreign Instruments Act, so that everybody that comes through the government of the United States of America, it cancels all those foreign instruments. And that's why when people are looking up their name under their SSN, they're showing, when they first get here, they're showing 35,000 in bonds on their name, and then by about a year and a half, 2 years later, it's down to zero. And that's what's going on. So there you go. So finally, 25 years later, I wasn't crazy in 1996. I was not crazy. They're finally doing it. Okay, finally coming out with that. So that's a good day. Now, there's some other stuff that has been happening here. We're going to be going through quite a lot of documents, quite a few documents here. We did a lien, common law lien, against the Charter of the United Nations. And it is very apparent that the majority of inhabitants are becoming more and more impatient with the Governors Association, the Democratic Party 527 organization, and media, and a host of other fake entities doing business within the country. The one entity that's not so fake is the totalitarian party. When we discuss the agencies within the departments of states hiding in plain sight, funded by the Security Council of the United Nations, we failed to mention that its political party is a totalitarian party. Now, this means actually comes out of title, their title, Title 8, Section 1101 definitions. The term totalitarian party means an organization which advocates the establishment in the United States of a totalitarian dictatorship or totalitarianism. The terms totalitarian dictatorship and totalitarianism mean and refer to systems of government are not representative in fact, characterized by an existence of a single political party, organized on a dictatorial basis, with so close an identity between such party and its policies and the governmental policies of the country in which it exists, that the party and the government constitute an indistinguishable unit and a forcible suppression to opposition to such party. Now, when you go over here and you say how to detect a fake executive order coming from a state, Many people are noticing a lot of executive orders coming out of the states within states and becoming full communist totalitarian dictatorships. The reason is that the executive orders are not coming from the governors. They're coming through a fake office created by a foreign power. And the traitors usurping power that were handpicked by the Security Council of the United Nations, issuing orders through a corrupt World Health Organization operated by a well-known war criminal. Yes, the man running the World Health Organization is a war criminal and human rights violator in Ethiopia. That guy's a real piece of work, man. We looked at the Constitution of the state of New Hampshire, wherein it reads, there shall be a supreme executive magistrate who shall be styled governor of the state of New Hampshire. That's this right here. That is the style. It cannot change. It doesn't change from the time the Constitution was created. It never changes. Notice that when we do entities, they never ever change. Never. We don't say governor's office. We'll say office of the governor because that's the original name. It's in the Constitution, all right, our Articles of Confederation. Governor of the state of New Hampshire. That cannot change. Never will change. So that's why we tell people you can't put a new state within a state. You can't say New Hampshire state. Oh, I'm on the Republic of New Hampshire state. No, it doesn't work that way. That's the state within a state. It's illegal. You go to jail. Okay? That's the way it works. The style of an office cannot be changed at any time in any document written throughout the life of the state. Otherwise, the document has no standing within the state and is in fact a fake. Okay? Now, while acts of de facto incumbent, this is what de facto and de jure mean, by the way. And we were talking to a lot of people, and it has nothing to do with, there was one guy that was saying, yeah, it's a private de jure. There's no such thing, folks. It doesn't exist. There's public de facto and private de jure. No. No such thing. Okay? What happened is that the de facto and de jure happens to do with the type of state, the type of office. So what I'm saying here is if you have a governor of the state of New Hampshire, that's de jure. That's a de jure office. If you put in governor's office, that's de facto. Has nothing to do with private and public. That was something that somebody made up, like an agent, to get you off of what was really going on and what's happening in the country. Realizing that all of the executive orders are being signed, they're fakes. They're fake executive orders because they're not signed by the governor of the state of New Hampshire. How do I know? Here's his frickin' signature. It's by the governor of New Hampshire. There is no such office. It doesn't matter whether it's all caps or not, upper and lowercase letters. That part doesn't really matter as far as this is concerned. But there is no such state or office as governor of New Hampshire because there's no such state as New Hampshire. It's the state of New Hampshire, not New Hampshire. That's a fake, okay? So realize that. We keep trying to tell people you have to stay with it. And it goes on all the time. If you see governors signing executive orders, they're all fakes. They don't sign that crap because they know they're unconstitutional. Now, many of the traitors will claim that this is a typo, an oversight, or will ask why does it matter? And they all do that. Well, who cares? That's this schematic, or what they call them, schematics or semantics. That's what it is. They call them semantics. Blah blah blah. It doesn't really matter. Well, of course, because you're guilty as hell of treason. That's why. However, go and try to register a business with the state of New Hampshire and fill out the form with two similar names of a business in the same form, and the Secretary of State will claim you're trying to start two separate businesses on the same form and ask you to fill out two separate forms for two separate businesses. For instance, if you put in there Bob's Auto Parts and you put a comma between Bob and S, Bob's, B-O-B apostrophe S, not a comma, apostrophe, B-O-B apostrophe S, and then down the form a little bit, you forget to put the apostrophe, they're going to tell you that you're creating two separate businesses. Well, you have to fill out two separate forms because one has an apostrophe and one doesn't. They all do that. It's been going on since the beginning of language itself. Okay, so realize this. If you can realize this, you'll see all the mistakes that everybody makes. I'm going to go over Straight's paperwork here in just a little while. I'm going to show you a bunch of lies, okay? or just a bunch of ignorance, a guy that's just freaking out, or he's an agent. I don't know which, but who cares, right? I'm just going to show you what's going on, what to stay away from. Okay, so keep in mind that's what happens. So when you start using governor of New Hampshire, and then what was it? Governor of the state of New Hampshire, if that was coming from his executive order here, that would be a lawful order. If not, this is not a lawful order. You can ignore this, and you can sue the crap out of them for writing unlawful orders, because these unlawful orders are being they're being funded, and when they're being funded, the people have to pay for them. It's being put on the people. Well, when unlawful orders are being written and signed, nobody has to pay for that. They're fraudulent bonds. So the governors are involved in creating fraudulent bonds and place them against the people, which means that wherever that money is coming from and goes towards those bonds, that governor can literally put that in his pocket because it never actually existed. That's what they're doing with this COVID-19 crap. They're creating all these bonds of emergency and everything, and the money's just going everywhere, and you're being stuck with it. They're sticking everybody with it because why? They sold you to the Federal Reserve on behalf of U.S. debt. They sold your ass out, man. So that's why when we did a cancelatura of foreign instruments, qualified to go ahead and go back to the original government, which was 1781. Okay, now here's another one that we did. We did this just in case, okay, just in case we had to specifically do it. So just in case we had to, in order to overcome some kind of assumption or presumption. A Declaration of Independence from a New World Order published by the government of the United States of America and the American National Union of the United States of America. These are the entities. These are legal de jure entities. That's how the government's styled. That's de jure. We also have one more, which is Secretary of State of the United States of America. We have that. Or for the United States of America, I believe it is. All right. There comes a time when human beings must embrace the light of freedom over the darkness of oppression. In this time of transition, men and women must put away childish notions of disparaging political ideologies and the phantom of trust of those that continue on their path towards darkness and lead others to that end of eternal damnation. The New World Order, made up of world communists, hereinafter NWO, has once again deceived its way to power for the sole purpose of exacting its darkness of oppression against those that it perceived as its enemy of the light of freedom. The NWO itself believes its cause is righteous, and therefore everyone must submit to it. Okay, and here's where the New World Order speech came in. Everybody knows about that. That is a little bit older. And you can click here, and you can see the whole NWO. What do you call it? The whole Declaration of Independence. That's a legal Declaration of Independence there, and a lawful one. All right, and it has standing. Now there's a Declaration of Independence signature page right there, if you'd like to sign it and move on from there. Okay, it does include citizens of the United States if they want to sign it, and it has the sections where you can click. Okie doke. Now let's go back to here just for a second, just to finish this up. Now, when we were talking about those extra offices within departments, okay, at the T-Row show, we were talking about that. What we were doing was, it was telling you that they were creating these fake departments, or fake offices within these departments. They were actually under and created by the Senate. Now, this is under the totalitarian party, which is also leads you right up to the Security Council of the United Nations that approves all wars and all this kind of crap. All right, and this is why we put the lien on them, because we don't want this. Okay, Gordon Brown has urged the world leaders to create a temporary form of global government to tackle the twin medical and economic crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Yo, you mean the one that y'all did, okay? You guys did that one. Okay, the former Labor Prime Minister, who was the center of the international efforts to tackle the impact of the near meltdown of the banks in 2008, said there was a need for a task force involving world leaders, health experts, and the heads of international organizations that would have executive powers to coordinate the response. Now, didn't we tell you on the T-Row show, we told you when all this was coming up, this was to put in place the New World Order. I don't believe any of it. I remember saying it. I don't believe any of this crap that's going on. I don't believe that this is a pandemic. I don't believe any of it. What I think is going on, because I said, first, I don't live in fear. And second, what I think is going on is the setup of the New World Order. And that's exactly where they're headed. When you know enough of what's going on, folks, you can always figure out what they're going to do 3 to 4 months from now. The virtual meeting of the G20 group, developed in developing countries, chaired by Saudi Arabia, I wonder why they did that, will be held on Thursday, but Brown said it would be preferable be included in the UN Security Council, blah, blah, blah. They're acting as if would have been preferable to have also included the UN Security Council, like they're not out of it. See, that's how they cover each other. They're saying the UN Security Council isn't doing any of this. Well, they are. They're doing all of it. And they're just, oh, well, we need to include them too. Like they're not a part of it. They're just, a bunch of dodo birds that are they're sitting there going, what? You want us to include where? See how they do that? And their political party of the Charter of the United Nations is a totalitarian party. This whole coronavirus exercise is so predictable. Okay? We put a 500 trillion lien against the totalitarian party for international trespass and is subject to raise an amount until they get the message. That's 500 trillion XRP. Their what do you call it? Their currency of choice. Okay, now, just in case you thought I was playing with you, we've moved quite a bit this week in a lot of things, and we usually do when they start moving like they're doing. All right, Gordon Brown calls for global government to tackle coronavirus right there. That's it. It looks like he just got off a doobie, Probably just rolled a fat one there before he got on stage. They're usually pretty stoned most of the time. Gordon Brown has urged world leaders to create a temporary form of global government to tackle the twin medical and economic crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Always, always beware of a temporary. Remember the income tax was supposed to be temporary during World War II and they just kept it going? Remember that? Don't ever let a communist go temporary on you. It's not temporary. They're just getting you used to the idea. Always remember that. And he wants to bring everybody together. Oh, gotta get everybody scared here. So show where the stock market there, and they gotta have the masks. It's an emergency, I tell you. He said it was still possible to get support for an emergency body with executive orders. Says, despite Donald Trump's America First policy, he said it was possible, still possible. Remember, Mr. Trump here, he's also kind of helping along there with the New World Order. Just letting y'all know. Just a little bit. Brown said his proposed global task force would fight the crisis on 2 fronts. And then he goes on and on and on. So you're welcome to go look at it and realize that it's a freaking circle jerk, man. That's all they're doing. All right. They're messing with you is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, I highlighted some things in this particular document. This was written, I believe, by an individual named David Lester Strait. Affidavit of Truth, Repudiation, and Revocation of Citizenship. There's no such thing as revocation of citizenship. There was no such thing as, it first was an actual government and then turned into a corporation in certain times. I want to read that to you. It's a complete joke, by the way. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands. This is all plagiarism. of the Declaration of Independence. He's apparently putting this stuff out to everybody, saying here, and also I believe I was reported to here to us that he's putting out stuff like you're a claim to be a belligerent, whereas the only place you're going to get your rights. Don't do that. I'm going to tell you why. You just basically claim that you were a part of a military and you're in a military force. That's a belligerent party. That's one who's fighting like in a military. You're lying is what you're doing. Okay, and here we go. In the Sovereign Republic of California State, no such state. Didn't exist, doesn't exist. This is a state within a state. That's a crime against the law of nations. Don't do that. Employee or citizens of United States government corporation. Okay, so right here, what he's put in all caps and says, "Oh, that's it." But if it's an upper and lower case, it's not. No, that's bullshit. Okay, that's not true. I am not a resident, employee, or citizen of the United States government. All right. And my relationship to any federal entity as far as jurisdiction is of non-resident alien to the corporate United States government. It's doesn't make any sense. Also known as an American state national or bloodline American. Okay, there's no really such thing as a American state national. That was created out of thin air. There's no such actual state. There's an American national, but not an American state national. That's ridiculous. How do I know that? Because the states have never really come together and started their naturalization and told everybody what they're actually called. They never did any legislation or statutes. They never finished. So if the states were offering a nationality, they never finished it or wrote any statutes that said, or acts or anything like that, that said, okay, in California, we're going to be known as American California Nationals or something like that. Oh, wait a minute. I think somebody did do that. Hold on one second. Yeah, that was us that did that. Huh, figure. All right, so the terms, American national means counted as one of the permanent population of all 50 of one of the United States, within the metes and bounds and seaward boundaries of the United States of America. Further, an American national status means that one person is counted as 50 separate persons for the purpose of maintaining the terms of the Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States, link, and the original Union of 1774 brought forward to the present time for the purpose of trade and interstate commerce. Further, the term American can also be referred to as California American. There you go. You can't put American state national because you don't know which state they're talking about. What the hell is American state national? Define state. Which one are you talking about? It doesn't exist. So it's a completely ridiculous claim. Utterly stupid, okay? Delaware American, Florida American. If you want to call yourself something, this is what we did. We defined it this way to be specific. The aforementioned nationality terms are non-citizen, non-resident alien to the U.S. of America and are not subject to any of foreign-owned company charter. The aforementioned nationality terms are within the metes and bounds and seaward boundaries in Central and South American parts and are in harmony with Central and South American parts of the American continent, meaning the term American national does not extend to the Central and South American part of the continent as a whole, a continent known as America or the Americas. Remember, Bolivian Americans are same thing, Bolivia American, Mexican American, they're all Americans. Every one of them are all on the same continent. Okay? So this is what is done here. It's really easy to figure out. It actually says, oh, we know he was born where? California, so he's a California American. We keep trying to tell people. All right. That's one of the things. Okay, then he says, or bloodline American. That doesn't make any sense either. Then you come out and say, I'm a free and natural man. Well, are you an American or are you a free and natural man? Doesn't make any sense. Described by the Lord God as a living soul, living under God's law and his grace alone. And within his religion, yes. Okay. Within his beliefs, yes, he can do that. I've assumed among the powers of the earth, granted by the Lord Almighty, the separate and equal station, of which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled me, giving me dominion over all things. I don't remember ever giving you dominion over anything that I have. So you just declared yourself a God. Not good. Therefore, in order to secure the blessing of liberty and my posterity and myself, has nothing really to do with you now, because now you just violated the law twice. Require my birthright as a member of the sovereign body of the we the people. Now, this is in the Constitution of the United States. So, since the United States was a corporation when it first began, okay, in 1789, and became what they call a militarized government type deal, an invasion of the Federal Republic that was already in place to break that up. You were never a part of we the people. So what you said is you came in and you said that you didn't want anything to do with the United States corporation, and then declared yourself a part of the body sovereign, or a body politic of we the people, the United States corporation. So you ever heard that song by Katy Perry, You're Hot and You're Cold? That's what you're doing. You're saying, I'm not a part of this, but I'm a part of this. And then you called on the Father's name right there. So first you said you were under his laws and under his grace, and then you said you were a part of the body sovereign of the we the people, the one you just, rescinded your name from. Hot, cold, it's all crazy. Just because you spell it in upper, lower, or all uppercase letters doesn't mean it's different. It's still the same thing. This is what's the funny part, because there's called a separation of mind. They do it all the time. They do it in the Patriot movement all the time. They say, oh, well, this is this and this is that. There, I'll show you what I'm talking about. I made some yellow highlights on some of this junk. The rest of this is just crap, is all it is. It's a what I call a salad, a bar of crap that's all over the internet. That's what it is. Then he starts complaining about a government. He wants to have nothing to do with it, and then he starts complaining about it, calling it a government, and all the crap that they did. Okay, it's ridiculous. Please stay away from this. Okay, since 1871, this is where the problem is right here. Since 1871, the United States of America became the United States of America Corporation. Complete and utter horseshit. Never happened, folks. That is a complete lie. Okay? This right here never had a constitution, the United States of America. It was written that way in the Declaration of Independence, but they never finished because all 50 of those people died. Well, majority of them, I think one or two may have lived, but a lot of them were killed. So they never finished that. So we always have these dummies that go back there, start using that and thinking they're going somewhere. It was never written in any constitution, period. What did happen is the United States of America in 1871, which was a confederacy. Okay? I'm sorry, 1781 was a confederacy. The 1871 corporation thing, that was something completely different. And we're not going to go into that today, but that is completely different. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about here. Okay? So the United States of America Corporation. Now, this is what we were what do you call it? That we were accused of claiming this so-called corporation as the United States of America. Okay? One more time. Total horse shit. We went to 1781. Back where these same people, agents or whoever the hell they are trying to steal from the people who legally and lawfully claimed it, and then gave 6 months, and then another 6 months, and then another 6 months after that for anybody else to claim it if they wanted it. We tried to sell it once and give it away, and nobody wanted it. This was back in 2012. No one wanted it. Now that they realize that we were right, now all of a sudden everybody wants it. You know how children are, right? Everybody knows how children are. So, became the United States of America Corporation. Not true. Never happened. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you here. I'm going to show you where your federal republic is what I'm going to do. What it ended up happening to it. Because, by the way, we tried to give it away, and no one wanted it. So we reformed it and started working on it. Now, if you want to claim it today for your own, you're going to owe us a lot of money. We got a lot of equity in there. You owe us a lot of money. Otherwise, you're claim jumping, you're stealing. But, you know, I expect people like this to steal. Okay? Now, finally, several sovereign and independent states may unite themselves together by a perpetual confederacy. Isn't that what the United States of America was, a confederacy? A 1781? That was finally passed in 1781? Without cease to be, each individually, a perfect state. They will together constitute what? A federal republic. Okay? That's only under confederacy. It doesn't change any other way. Unless, if it's not a confederacy, it's not a federal republic. That's the way it works. Now, we were saying throughout this whole thing, and I'm going to go back to that document there in just a minute, but what we were saying was this. We were saying, look, we can't get people to even actually do this. So what we did was we took that confederacy and turned it into a national government, but we didn't break up the federal republic. We did move the federal republic, and we moved it onto an actual really good federal republic, okay, which was the Charter of the American Continent. I've talked about this before, and I'm just going to talk about it one more time. I'll show you. All right, that's the Charter of the American Continent right there. It's 32 pages. And what we did was we created this in December 18th, 2014. The intent of the original union was to form a continental union. The original union was not intended to form an international United Nations, wherein other countries would write, vote, and decide the fate of the American continent, nor regulate its people. If the other 6 continents have the authority to decide its own fate, the American continent has the same right. Okay? And we went in there and we did this. American nations, states, and countries, conscious of our desire to be free from all tyranny and oppression. So this was what you guys thought. This is where your actual literal federal republic is. And you have the right to vote in a delegate to send it to this particular this body here. And we have 15 of the states right now that are members of it, including the government of the United States of America, which is a national government. The only difference with it is it has the general postmasters there. So we made those concessions for the states and said, look, this is where we put your federal republic that you wanted. This is a confederacy of countries, states that come together. And we all meet, just like it is. So what you think Congress is, the U.S. Congress, that's an aristocratic republic. That means all the powers in the hands of the Senate. And the Senate, by the way, are the traitors in this country. They're the ones that are bringing in their New World Order crap and the totalitarian party. All the senators are traitors. That's why we got rid of the Senate in all of our new national government constitutions. They have all their independence. They can vote. They can do everything that they want to do. Okay? So this is where the original Federal Republic of the Confederacy of 1781 that was ratified and completed in 1781, this is where it was delivered today. And it has 32 pages, and all it does is it talks about many different kinds of veto powers of the members and what the United Nations is all about. If it's not there, convinced of that a confederation bind between the people and social compact is an indispensable condition for the stability, peace, and development of this charter. Okay? It really is written, I believe, well, and it does have a lot of perks in it that everybody can work with. Okay? Okay, so whoever came up with this completely lied to everybody. And the amendment, redefining the word person. No, they didn't. Nothing like that happened. Okay? None of this happened. The beginning of the confiscation of our gold and the allodial property, we were never a part of it. All right? So just realize this, folks. You're not a part of things. Okay. This is where they came in. It is valid only when insisted upon by a belligerent claimant person. Okay? So let's go over to the law of belligerent. This is the law of belligerency. talks about is the term occupied territories mean that any area in which military government is exercised by an armed force. It does not include a territory in which an armed force is located, but has not assumed supreme authority. Now you get the supreme law of the land thing. Y'all get it? It's a military government type thing, is used to describe the supreme authority exercised by an armed force over the lands, property, and inhabitants of an enemy territory. Hello? Or allied, a domestic territory recovered from enemy occupation, or from rebels treated as belligerents. Rebels treated as belligerents. In other words, you're an armed force, guys. Don't claim to be a freaking belligerent. It is exercised when the armed forces occupied such territory. And this is where they're violating that this whole deal when it deals with private property. Okay, Article 46 of the Hague Regulations provides that private property must be respected. This article appears in the chapter of the Hague. Regulations relating the restrictions imposed on the occupant, Article blah, 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 which forbids the destruction or seizure of an enemy property, either public or private, unless imperatively demanded by necessities of war, is part of the chapter limiting belligerence and the content of hostilities and proper. Okay, so when you go, if you go into court and say, I'm a belligerent, okay, you're military. So you're in a proper place. You have the commander-in-chief's flag right there, so now you're just in a military military tribunal. That's what you just claimed under the commander-in-chief's flag. I'm a belligerent. You don't have jurisdiction. It's just funny. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I'm a belligerent. You don't have jurisdiction. Hello? You just said you were in the military. All right. Okay. It says in here in Article 3 of this really long, drawn-out garbage. It's, like I said, it's a salad bowl. Or it's a salad bar of a bunch of crap. The United States Constitution is a compact or contract between the federal government and the states of the Union. No, it's not. It's not really anything other than a military takeover and occupation. Remember, they never went back to the Federal Republic under the Articles of Confederation to vote in the Constitution. The United States and Congress assembled, the 74 delegates never reconvened. They were stuck in committee. So it became a military occupation from the United States and Great Britain together. And then within the Civil War, they went ahead and made war with the states, because the United States of America, upper and lowercase t, the United States of America, I think it was South Carolina, that seceded from that union, which was illegal. Couldn't do that because that was under the Articles of Confederation. Think about it, folks. This is a lie. Its fundamental guiding principle is the idea that the state is always a potential source of corruptive power, ultimate tyranny. Okay, so basically, that the state is always a potential source of corruptive power and ultimate tyranny. That is a anarchist. All right. By the way, this document has no standing whatsoever. I know a lot of people are following this. I'm just letting you know it has zero standing. Go ahead and do it. I don't care if you want to do it. It's your freaking person. All right. He says, I'm not anti-government, anti-military, anti-American. Well, how can he be anti-you if you're American, right? For generations, my family served in the United States of America. No, you didn't. Because you says right here, you serve the United States of America in both active and inactive service over all over the world. I served a few years in sworn county deputy, always defending the Constitution of the United States of America. If that's the case, how did you serve this entity here? He's a liar. That's the way it works. And this is how you can tell if somebody's up to something that's not supposed to be doing something. He's doing something he shouldn't be doing. Not a good idea. Okay, I put some yellow highlights. A lot of this, man, it just puts you to sleep. 47 pages of garbage. He starts getting into all kinds of junk. Revelations. I mean, it goes on and on. What is the name of a crime? Unlawful conversion. Whatever. It's all crap at this moment. I mean, if you're going to get rid of that, you can always just go and renounce any U.S. citizenship that you have. There's two ways of doing it. You can renounce U.S. citizenship, or you take an oath to something to another government, and or you're a military commander within that government in a foreign military, and you're out. It's not a big deal. There's no renouncing involved. There's none of this 47 pages of crap. Then he goes into the fund, Interpol, IRS. Let's show my enemy how much I know. So he goes on in this, and I've seen this a lot in the past. Then he goes, Congress identifies these citizens as district, as individuals or citizens, resides, blah, blah. Federal government is a state, foreign state. Well, you just said it was a corporation. So is it a state or a foreign state? You see what I mean, guys? It's ridiculous. Stick with one thing, man. And I don't think I found any other kind of crap in here that was worth actually mentioning. And he starts talking about state citizen case law, which everybody's ever been dealing with this, knows about this, and the state citizenship test. And this was the funny thing. He's not a part of it, but yet he's got the red, white, and blue here, American Union, state nationals. I'm sorry. So if you're getting away from the U.S., why are you flying their colors, man? Seriously? Seriously? Come on. It's funny. Oh, by the way, the true trustee and beneficent, if you're trying to say that you're a beneficiary, no, a trustee can't be a beneficiary of doing business as David Lester Straight, okay, and all the estates of my fathers and forefathers. The government of the United States of America right now is holding all the assets. I'm gonna read something to you guys, because we're not releasing any of that crap at all. No way. There's only one way you can do it. Okay, first of all, it was reported back to this office that China, that this guy Straight was praising China for no crime. China has no crime. They're great. They're wonderful and everything else. Okay. If you have children in the room and you don't want them to see this, then you might want to get them out of there or cover their eyes for a second. Okay, if you don't see this as a crime, wherein you have Chinese eat baby soup for sex, there's a baby right there inside a soup bowl, and it goes on and on. It gets pretty gross. Okay, there's a baby boiling and all that kind of thing. If you don't think that's a crime and you're going to praise China, you are one sick dude. Okay, anybody wants to follow that, you're out of your mind. I'm going to read this so everybody gets the point as to where it stands here. Okay. All right, we have been observing Anna consistently claim that the assets of the United States of America 1776 need to be returned, when in fact, well, the fact is they have been with the United States of America and under the control of the government of the United States of America since 2009. Now, how is that? Well, the essence of all law starts in one place, and one place only. Okay, the origin of law starts with surveys, origins of law. Land surveying requires knowledge of mathematical sciences as well as law. To solve boundary problems, an individual need to be good in science and math, and also good in arts. Now, what did we do first? We claim the metes and bounds and seaward boundaries of the United States of America, which is the essence of all law. Hello. We're telling you that they don't get it. And when you see like the process by which they say this is how you do your assemblies, we've had that out, by the way, for quite a long time. It's an SOS package, Secretary of State. And we've had that out since the beginning, and it's usually right down there where the people do a resident declaration. So that's where all this starts. why you have to do the meets and bounds first. Consistently claim the, okay. Now, Anna and some of her cohorts are the only ones that do not have access to the assets of the United States of America. The United States of America of 1776. So there's no need to create an emergency using Pig Latin. It's this whole thing she goes, and it's been going on for days and months. It's like they have these publications, and they're constant crap through the whole publication. It changes your mind. It goes here, goes there. It's a completely different thought process over and over again. And what they don't get is this. Okay, Anna is never going to get the assets of the United States of America. Period. Never. She will die without them. So will her husband, her rapist-ass husband, and Stramer, and everybody else that's involved with her. None of you are ever going to get it. You're going to go on for the rest of your life. You're never going to get it. Okay, because why? I'll show you why. Either this statement is a lie or there's someone lying. Okay, so somewhere, because we do not have any records of a Julius da Vinci Gracia, and he does not have any access to the assets of the United States of America because they have not been delivered yet. All the assets remain in trust and storage. We've got them. Mr. Trump's advisors, this is coming from this link right here, okay, are a bit slow on the uptake. This comes from them. They have been told that Julius Delebe has entered the jurisdiction of the States of the Union and is under the protection of the United States of America. Now, this is coming from his advisors. So, folks, don't you see that we're correct in what we're talking about? And that who brought in the States of the Union, folks? Who did that? Okay. Oh, that would be us again. The government of the United States of America hereby reintroduces the existence of the States of the Union. This was on August 9th, 2016. Once we did this, oh, all of a sudden the United States and the Constitution, oh, we had a one fake Constitution, and then we had one in 1871, and they created a corporation and took it, and blah, blah, blah crap. All that went out the window. Now, all of a sudden, it's the States of the Union and the United States of America, and somehow magically, Anna became a fiduciary, which is total crap. It's called theft. It's magic. Okay? The same, I think it was the same woman that said she had a spiritual battle, and right after that, it broke the spell and the world was free. That was just about 2-3 weeks ago. All right. Now, that was here. Now, what we did with the UPU, we notified the UPU. They did accept us, by the way. But we didn't like the way they were operating, the UPU. There was something wrong with them. It's the Universal Postal Union. So what we did was we went ahead and removed the United States of America from the treaty. So what happened is in 1874, everybody keeps saying 1871, they moved it to a corporation. Not true, complete lie. What happened is they went back to 1781, the United States of America, the original Confederacy, because the UPU wouldn't accept this bullshit that they had just done, which is the military occupation crap and all that, and they couldn't really actually claim themselves as a country. They were always a company. So what they did was they used the United States of America, this entity right here, on the UPU treaty, but it was never a corporation. They went back and grabbed it and then signed as the United States of America, lowercase t, 1789 entity, on the UPU treaty. We told them there was a mistake, that the two were different, and the UPU just ignored us for over 2 years about that issue. So we went ahead and said, okay, we're out of the treaty. Screw you. We're not going to deal with this. They opened up an account for us and everything at the UPU to get .post. But we just didn't want to get in argument with them. It was total crap. The whole thing was messed up. So we just left it. That's what really happened. All right, I'm going to share again here. Okay, so this is the deal. He is fully empowered if it came from their advisors, okay, and under protection of the United States of America, he's fully empowered to set free of any possible claim of municipal citizenship obligation or territorial citizenship obligations. The General Post Office of the government of the United States of America will not deliver any assets as long as there are foreign agents like Anna Vaughn and David Lester and many others that are in the field waiting to steal the assets for their employers. Okay, anybody remember when the UN goes and sends a bunch of stuff over to an African nation, and this for the relief of the people, and what really happens is their dictatorship government, military government there grabs all the assets and kills people with it? That's what we don't want to happen here. We don't want any funding on any individual person. They weren't ever voted in for anything, so we're not going to do it. And many others that are in the field, all right? It says many people believe these agents and believe these agents are trying to get the believers' assets for them, when in reality, those agents are trying to steal the assets for their employers. And we've spoken about this before, and we have. Holding the assets is a great responsibility, and the likes of Anna and David and many others are not going to succeed for the rest of their life. They will never get the assets. ... Never. Clean up the agents in the field, and we can deliver. Otherwise, it is all considered hostile territory. The same as having little dictators that will claim the assets for themselves and will never be delivered to the independent recipient. Anna and her cohorts are the reason why we cannot get the assets to all of you. Anna keeps interfering with confusion, lies, and deception. She keeps coming in and claiming crap and claiming responsibility for things that she is not even a part of, was not even a narrative, was not relevant in any of the situations. And a lot of people believe her, and they keep sending her money. She's lying. And we're not delivering shit until her and all her cohorts are gone and off the internet. We're not delivering a thing. Okay, this is what will happen if we deliver now. Anna will claim responsibility for the delivery. More people will donate their assets to her and her cohorts, and will be funded to spread more lies like cancer. Okay, it'll go on and on and on. It'll never end. We're not going to fund the woman. And yes, we can get assets to you, believe me. But we're not going to do this with the mess that we have now. We have way too many agents in the field. We have way too many liars. We have way too many people claiming this kind of bullshit paperwork of 47 pages of crap. We got way too many of them saying, oh, China's a great country. We are not giving this to communists. Not going to happen. It's the same responsibility that the Navy had from Abraham Lincoln, when they were supposed to hold those from the 9 Baron families, the railroad families, to withhold the assets of the United States of America from them. We have that same responsibility. It's not going to happen. So that woman could sit there and talk all she wants. It's not going to happen. It falls on deaf ears. Believe me. All right. Now, I'm just going to get into this. Origins of law, we get that. This is the Declaration of Independence I talked about in the beginning. And this is also the law. There's a law of nations. We have a belligerent. If you look it up, in the law of nations, it also talks about the belligerents being military. So anybody that's telling you, oh yeah, just claim belligerent, what you just did was this. You went into one of their courts that was taken over by a hostile organization called American Bar. What they're going to do is say, okay, he's a belligerent. He just claimed he was a belligerent. Awesome. They're going to claim to be civilians, that you're in there attacking civilians because you said you were a belligerent. And you were just delivered right over to them under the laws of war. That's exactly what's going on. You're being set up when you're told to do that. Why do you think the judge said that on the record? That she knew someone was going to find it, and they were stupidly going to use it to fall right into their trap. Oh, they don't recognize people that are ignorant of their rights and are what do you call it? I can't remember the word that she used. Docile or whatever the hell it was. You have to be a belligerent. So go in there and be a belligerent. Okay, stupid. Go ahead and do it. because now they got you as domestic terrorist. They get the insurance on it. They get the bond. They can sell a higher bond on you and the whole thing. And your ass just sits in there with a little orange suit on. That's it. And you're done. You're toast. And you can't figure out how it happened. And when you try to get hold of Anna or Lester or somebody else that did this, all of a sudden you can't find them. They don't answer phone. They don't answer emails and stuff. You just got set up. Just like the other guys that were set up, they got 38 years in jail and 24 years in jail. We keep trying to tell you. But if you want to keep believing it, go ahead. I don't care anymore. You want to keep believing that? Go for it. I don't care. I'm tired of worrying about it, and I'm tired of bitching at you about it. I'm not your daddy. You want to do it? Go for it. Have a good day with it. Go ahead and sign some stupid crap like that. All right? I'm tired of worrying about it. I'm moving on. All right? So that's how this goes. Now, the Declaration of Independence, there's some other wording in there that I'm going to read to you, and then we're finished, folks, for the day. I'm going to go ahead and share it again because I don't know if the document's changing for you so you can see it. Okay, let me see, make sure this is right. Oh, this is the British Empire. Okay, wrong one. Okay, reason why I'm wrapping around on this one here, because I think it's important enough to just go through it for the next 3 or 4 minutes, or 5 minutes or so, and then go ahead and end the show. So for the 170th broadcast. And no, I have not forgotten the Law of Nations shows from 167. All right. So there comes a time when human beings must embrace the light of freedom over the darkness of oppression. So a spiritual type declaration, just letting you know. And in this time of transition, men and women must put away childish notions of disparaging political ideologies and the phantom of trust of those that continue on their path towards darkness and lead others to that end of eternal damnation. Those that continue to wage war against the light of freedom of choice shall meet their end in the afterlife, for this life is created for the soul to choose the light of freedom or the darkness of oppression. You have a choice. The New World Order, made up of world communists, hereinafter NWO, has once again deceived its way to power for the sole purpose of exacting its darkness of oppression against those that it perceives as its enemy of the light of freedom. NWO itself believes its cause is righteous, and therefore everyone must submit to it. They believe they are trying to free you, and you are too stupid to realize it, so they're going to force you. They believe they're trying to free you and do a wonderful thing. And you, big dummy, why don't you accept it? Okay? That's how they are. The NWO believes it's blessed with the light of freedom and believes that freedom emanates from the devil and will prevail in its war with heaven itself. However, the NWO has been blinded by the darkness of oppression and has been enforcing its creed of darkness upon all other nations, states, and countries by usurping control over their internal and external affairs, thereby creating superpowers of destruction. The NWO has assumed a position of the throne of Yahweh over the inhabitants and of the world in the year 1941 through its Atlantic Charter, after becoming drunk with the blood of power over the collective victory of World War I and II. The NWO plan started before the Revolutionary War of 1776, as imparted by General Cornwallis to the United States of America and the Continental Congress thereof. The NWO decreed that America would unknowingly serve its cause without the knowledge of the servants. This act by the NWO, as well as trafficking and man-stealing in all its forms, in violation of all 30 articles of the UDHR and the Law of Nations. The NWO has also known as the Crown, and many other entities, is responsible for all the blood it has spent in multiple wars, thereby implementing starvation, multiple human rights violations, multiple violations of the Law of Nations, multiple violations of the Law of War, multiple violations of the Geneva Convention, and many millions of people that live abroad that have been unknowingly trafficked under its rule, thereby causing liability upon the souls of men. The NWO in the Netherlands has crossed the line of royal decency in the name of its religious mission and through its corporations. And the ideology of peace that emanates from the NWO is submission to it, not the light of freedom of choice that emanates from heaven, and therefore the government of the United States of America must act to remove these chains of oppression. So what they say is they can only have peace. You can only have peace if you submit to them and do what they tell you. It kind of sounds like Islam, doesn't it? In a lot of ways, they both do the same exact thing. The NWO is a lot like Islam. Actually, you can put an equal sign between them on how they operate. Therefore, it is hereby published a Declaration of Independence from the NWO in all of its forms, citing all of its crimes against humanity, and declare the NWO the enemy of humanity for its crimes against humanity, for it's condemned itself by making a deal with the devil, and has spread those lies and deceit as a vehicle for hell itself to cause strife and contention among their nations and states to achieve nothing more than a false peace. Submission. The government of the United States of America itself has never knowingly joined the aforementioned NWO. However, the NWO delves in the most heinous of international crimes, wherein it assumes a meeting of the minds where it does not exist. It assumes loyalty to its cause without publishing its claim to the throne of David, while using those people known as Israelis as cannon fodder. It assumes ownership and changes the status of others without permission or consent. It trespasses without remorse. It assumes power of attorney when it cannot rule itself. It charges without authority. It convicts in its star chambers, and assumes its own international immunity from recourse. It secretly supplants its agents in other countries, wherein those agents claim allegiance to a secret master and create strife and contention against its people as a diversion from the truth. It reduces governments to mere corporate citizens and steals from the people of those states while claiming rights under international law to get away with the booty. It slanders those people under threat of murder to hide its crimes, and in most cases carries out those murders to hide evidence and remove witnesses. It threatens nuclear retaliation against countries that attempts to handle its own affairs. It builds tunnels under countries as a presence of imminent threat for the purpose of control. It murders professors, inventors, scientists as political dissidents if they tell the truth. It funds both sides of every conflict and walks away without punishment, guilt, or remorse, while all the while presenting itself as a champion of peace. It condemns slavery publicly, only to recreate it under a different classification beyond its borders. It hijacks private prayer and assumes itself through coveting and jealousy as a part of all spiritual relationships, thereby creating itself into an idol in violation of the first commandment. The more detail of the aforementioned paragraph by sequence of events. And it goes on. Okay, we can go into the sequence of events, or you're welcome to read it. It's right online. But that's it. It's a nice document to read. It's refreshing. So just letting you know. We're going to do another signature page for the General Postmasters, but you're able to sign on to it online if you'd like. And then just click your status. Normally it'd be just inhabitants. If you don't want to do any oath or affirmation to anything, then you're an inhabitant, and that's it. So, but we'll recognize that. So thank you for listening to the 170th broadcast of the T-ROH Show. I'm sorry if this went a little long, but we had to cover quite a few subject matter. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.